my way too early prediction for first coach fired for the 2025 NFL season is Zac Taylor for
Fuck.
the Cincinnati Bengals. Might be crazy to say. I just think that he is absolute. I think his seat is way hotter than what people make it out to be, because I just want to go over Zac Taylor's career so far as the Bengals head coach. 2019, 2-14, 0-11 start. 2020, 4-11-1. The combined record of 4-24-1 was the worst ever start for the first two seasons of any NFL head coach. 2021, 10-7, AFC North champs. That is the wild card game with the Ty Huntley fumble on the 1 yard line that got returned for a touchdown. They were that play away from getting beat in the wild card, but completely swing things around. They go to the Super Bowl and lose to the Rams. It's crazy, that like sliding doors moment where it's like the Ravens are on the 1 yard line with Ty Huntley as their Snoop Huntley before he was Snoop as their quarterback, and he jumps over the line, and the ball gets knocked out on the 1 yard line, and it gets returned for a touchdown, and everything swings. So, and then they go to the Super Bowl. So it's just crazy how little things can change the trajectory of a team, like by almost losing to a backup quarterback to then going to the Super Bowl and losing. 2022, 12-4, AFC North champs, smoked by the Bills in the playoffs. That was that game where just right away the Bills pretty much just like had them on a leash and they couldn't do anything. 2023, 9-8, missed the playoffs, 1-3 start. 2024, 9-8, missed the playoffs, 0-3 start. He is 37-42-1 plus 3-2 in the playoffs. The slow start pattern. The first 4 games from 2019 to 2024, 5-19. Weeks 1 and 2, 1-10. In 5 of the 6 seasons, the team has lost their home opener. I'm not even saying anything about the roster at this point. This is strictly about coaching. That stretch from 2019 to 2024 that I read is concerning. Now, he started off bad, and then obviously he got hot. They had that Super Bowl run. They had a really successful season the next year. And now the pattern that we're seeing is just kind of like a downtick of things. Getting into the roster a little bit, I don't think that this roster is set up for success in any way, shape, or form. So I think that the Bengals could start off again, like I said, weeks 1 and 2, 1-11, first 4 games from 2019 to 2024, 5-19. They are just not good in the beginning of the season. So if that pattern continues and they start off a season 0-2, 0-3, and get behind the 8 ball, I think that there could be a vast change that would probably shock a lot of people. But if you look at the pattern of his entire career, I don't think it's that crazy to say that he could potentially be the first coach fired if things start slowly again for them.
So you want to know what's crazy? We didn't talk about coaches on the hot seat as far as like who we think is going to be gone first or what. I actually had Zac Taylor as my number one and
Wow.
switched it at the last minute, but I completely agree with you. That first season in 2020, well, I guess his second season, they went 4-11. That was the first year that they got Joe Burrow, and he didn't finish the season because he had a knee injury. It's wild because even since then he's had 4 winning records, but it almost feels like he's had 3 losing records since then. Aside from that AFC Championship Super Bowl run, it honestly feels like the last 2 seasons have been losing seasons just because of them not going 9-8 and missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not something that you necessarily see a ton, is a coach that's like actually had 4 winning seasons in a row, but is on the hot seat. But like I said, it feels like they have been trending downwards and have been negative seasons all since that Super Bowl. So I completely agree with you. I think he's certainly one of the hotter names in the NFL as one of the first coaches fired.
Yeah. Like I said, I just think that it doesn't have anything to do with like the roster at this point, because even when the roster was at its best, they had those struggles early on in the season, no matter what. So it's just like an interesting caveat that for whatever reason, I don't know what he's doing, but that is like strictly on the head coach. The slow starts and everything like that is like, okay, why are you not prepared for early on in the season? And obviously, like the last 2 seasons, where they go 9-8, they could have benefited from having a hot start and winning their first few games. So, and in those 2 seasons where they missed these playoffs, like you said, 1-3 start, 0-3 start. It's just like you can't put yourself behind the 8 ball like that and expect success. So, if I'm going to look at their schedule real quick here and just see, but it wouldn't be, so they start off with the Cleveland Browns. Let's just say that's a win. Then they have Jacksonville, Minnesota, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay. I mean, that's a stretch of games where they could easily lose all of those football games. And I think that would be insane. And that would have them at 1. That would have them at 1-5 to start the season, with their only win being to the Cleveland Browns, who are a tanking football team, the first one of its kind.
Yeah, and just the fact that the Bengals historically start slow, like we can't even give them any credit against some of the teams that they actually might be better than because of how poorly they have started seasons in years past.
If they open up the season and lose to the Browns, is the sky falling?
It should. It literally should. Yeah, the Browns have 4 guys that are like 1/4 of an NFL starting quarterback. Maybe they should just let them each play 1 quarter.
I don't hate that idea.
Is that my best idea yet?
Yeah, great take. What's aged the best? All right, so you said that you had Zac Taylor, but you said you also have this list. So I mean, go ahead and give us this list real quick before you said you switched. My guess is that you switched Zac Taylor for McDaniel.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have Mike McDaniel as my pseudo hot seat replacement. He took over for Miami in 2022. He went 9-8. They went to the playoffs and lost in the first round. 2023, 11-6, went to the playoffs, lost in the first round. And then last year in 2024, 8-9, and did not make the playoffs. So this is another guy that has a winning record, but his team is also on a downward trajectory. And the reason that I also think this is because he was brought in here as like the whiz kid guru, offensive minded guy that just cannot figure it out and get it put together in the playoffs. And I know that he's had injuries dealing with Joe Burrow and Zac Taylor. I'm sorry, Tua Tagovailoa, and Zac Taylor's had the same exact, like they're almost spitting images where like they are winning head coaches recently and have just had quarterback issues that they've had to battle through. And I look at it this way. I think a team is more likely to probably fire a head coach than move on from a quarterback that they've signed under contract until 2028, 2029. And I just think that unless Tua gets hurt, I can't really see the Dolphins moving on from him yet. And I think the next thing in line is just going to be them moving on from Mike McDaniel if they have another tough season.
I mean, they need to get rid of him. I forget.
He just might be a lifelong offensive analyst, coordinator type guy.
There's something off with him, dude. I saw a video, a press conference of him with talking about Jalen Ramsey. They were like, "What do you think of like him getting traded or all this?" And he was like, "Doesn't like really give a fuck about what I think." Like, there's that cat's like not like wired right. Like, there's something from the time he took the job to what he is right now, there is something vastly different about him. I don't know what it is, but it's interesting.
Yeah, and it just hasn't gone as expected. And I understand that in those. So I also was looking through like their 2020, his first season. They started out 1, 2, 3, 3-3, 5, 8-3, and then lost 5 in a row down the stretch, like heading into the playoffs. And like,
Yeah,
I understand you're a rookie head coach, but they started out so hot, and to just go on that cold of a streak is you got to figure a way out of it.
who's
And then
benefited more from dropping 70 in one game than him?
nobody.
Yeah,
That was his version of his lesser version of Zac Taylor Super Bowl run.
yeah.
But then again, at the end of the season last year, they finished 2-3, 2 losses heading into the playoffs. We saw how that first round playoff game looked against the Chiefs. I mean, 26-7, and they just can't play in cold weather.
Literally.
And then last year, they don't even make the playoffs, and just full of disappointment. Now, who knows what's going to happen with Tua moving forward as far as like health injuries go. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel like things are going well down there. And
No.
it feel based off of the contract situation that Tua is in, like I think that they're likely to move off of him before they move off of a quarterback. So
Perfect. Do you want to read just like the rest of the list that you had? I'm curious to hear it, and then we can move on.
yeah, let me why can't I find it? Yeah, so I had Shane Steichen on my list as well at 3.
Well, I
This
mean, I agree.
this quarterback situation has just been a mess. And it doesn't look like it's going to be getting any better anytime soon here. And then 4, I have Kevin Stefanski, just because I feel like there probably has to be a certain point where I know that the quarterback situation that he's been put in has just been absolute dog shit, but I feel like there probably has to be a line in the sand where it's like, okay, you got to figure something out here, and you're not doing that, so it's probably time to move on.
I mean, I agree with that list.
Yeah, I feel like it's less for Steichen and for Stefanski, but I think the seat is much hotter for Mike McDaniel and Zac Taylor just because of those things that we rattled off already.
Hey, great list. You don't have anything. I have no rebuttal to what you just said. I hope all those guys get fired.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking around, and there's not really that many guys that I feel like are on that are like realistically on any type of hot seat. Like I think Dable bought himself a couple, like at least another year or two, because I know that was a guy that you mentioned a lot last year about getting fired. But with the way that the Giants drafted, I think he might have bought himself some more time. I think like hold on, let me pull this list up. I think who was I just looking at here? I think Gannon is safe. I think Raheem Morris is probably starting to creep onto that hot seat, but I think he also bought himself some more time with the Michael Penix at quarterback move. And then outside of that, it's a lot of like newer coaches or guys that are pretty solidified and pretty safe.
Yeah, at least for now.
I just spit it.